Hi, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to day two of our Foundry Summit. What a day yesterday was. Now, I've got a small little talk for you here, and it's about changes to the technical governance of the Cloud Foundry Foundation. My name's Lee Porte, and I'm your new TOC chair. Probably makes sense to start with who I am. So, I've been elected as the first TOC chair, which is a huge honour and privilege. My day job is as tech lead on GovUK PaaS, which offers a Cloud Foundry-based platform as a service to UK government departments in order to make hosting their applications nice and simple. I've been involved in the Cloud Foundry Foundation for about 4 years or so now, mainly in the background, connecting with other government users of Cloud Foundry, which includes 18F in the US and the DTA in Australia. And I'm a big fan of open source and have been throughout my career. When talking about changes to the governance structure of the Foundation, it probably makes most sense to start off with where we've come from. So since the inception of the Cloud Foundry Foundation in 2015, we've had some project management committees that were each responsible for a subgroup of projects that fell within an area of the ecosystem. The current four that you can see on the slide are not the ones that we started with. Runtime and Bosch have been there since time beginning. OSB API, it started in late 2016 as an independent project before coming into the governance structure of the Foundation. Utilities was something that predated extensions, and that ended in 2016. And then it was realised that there was a gap and actually it was needed. So it was revived as extensions in late 2017. Now, having these multiple PMCs, it gave rise to having many points of contact between the governing board and the technical direction the community was taking. And the project groups themselves worked largely in silos, which made tracking changes from outside the PMCs really quite difficult. Particularly if you were completely outside the ecosystem, that was incredibly hard. Each of the project teams had a similar kind of structure. They had a project lead who was responsible for backlog management, running team meetings, maintaining notes, and triaging incoming issues. A tech lead who was responsible for the code quality, the technical direction, and managing technical proposals that were being submitted about the components that they were working on. And team members that were actually working on the stories, working in a pair programming method, having completed the dojo process. So that's where we've come from. And one of the big questions on many people's minds is, why change? Well, you change because there's some problems. And some of the problems that we've had have been around things like the dojo method for gaining access into the teams. It's absolutely brilliant for onboarding the individuals to the project teams, but you need to be working for a company that can afford it. When I say afford it, I mean in terms of time, spending 6 weeks working intensively, being onboarded to a component. That's quite a commitment there. And cash terms as well, particularly if you need to send people abroad to do so. That's quite an investment that you're making there. One of the big problems is it's not approachable for either individuals, small organizations, or for people that are non-full-time contributors. So they're going to be working on these components as part of their day job, but not full-time. And from the outside, there's no public roadmap and no process for asking questions about what's coming up, what changes are going to be happening. And it made it really, really difficult to track what was happening, particularly across multiple components. A key example of this is moving from the V2 to the V3 API. So what are we going to do about it? Well, where we're going, we don't need roads, but we do need some guiding principles. And we've got 3 guiding principles: transparency, clarity, inclusivity. They're the things that we want to have as underpinning absolutely everything that we're doing going forwards. So some of the really big things we're looking at are getting rid of the project groups and moving over to working groups. We want to enable the working groups to be accessible from outside. We want to enable a much wider community participation as well. So going beyond the teams that are working on the core things out into the full community and to help that grow. Having visible public roadmaps around the components and Cloud Foundry as a whole, so it can help people to figure out where they can best help, where can they contribute, how can they best use what we're providing for them. The Dojo approach is going away. It's no longer going to be the formal acceptance criteria for gaining the ability to merge PRs. Instead, granting improver rights is going to be through sustained contribution instead of this intensive Dojo onboarding. So it makes it much more accessible to individuals and those that are working in small organizations. And for us, it is incredibly early days. As a TOC, we're only 4 weeks old. So where are we today? We've elected a TOC which consists of Jan, Eric, David, and Stefan, who are well known within the community, and me. Hi. So as I say, we're a young TOC being only 4 weeks in. We're still figuring out a few things at the moment, but we're getting there. And we're working on the future. This is an indication of where we're heading, that we want you to help us because we are your voice in helping us shape the community. You're going to drive us forward and we're going to make that thing. In terms of a direction of where we're heading, this is what we're actually looking at. So instead of having multiple PMCs, having multiple points of contact into the governing board, there is the central TOC, which oversees 8 different working groups that are each responsible for a set of components that live within them. It's well worth reiterating at this point, the working groups are not set in stone, and we'll be looking at detail. So here is our proposed working group structure, where we've got some app runtime interfaces, which is covering the things that you're using for clients to interact with, and CAPI, which is an interesting one, you might think. But since they're all talking to CAPI, it makes sense, because if you want to change the CLI, you're going to have to change CAPI at the same time. So having them live within the same working group makes an awful lot of sense. There's the app runtime platform, which has the core components for making sure that the platform itself can actually host applications and function. Build packs, by putting those CF build packs, the classic build packs, and Paketo from the cloud native side together, means that we should be able to drive much more towards having parity between the two sets of build packs in order to make migrating a much more seamless experience for our end users. We've brought all the runtime deployments together as well, with CF deployment, kubecf, CF for Kates in there, and cats. So that way we're targeting one central set of acceptance tests. So we should be able to drive towards having a much better parity between each of the different deployment types. The foundational infrastructure of Bosch, BBR, CredHub, and UAA, it makes sense again to bring these together because they all rely on each other at that particular level. We've got the service management side of things, so looking at the cloud service broker and OSB API, the volume services, and Fabric as well, brought together again to make sense. So as we're making changes across them, they can move along quite nice and seamlessly. Vulnerability management is a standalone thing. It is absolutely critical for any of us that are running large-scale platforms to know that we have a good secure base to work on. And the new one that's appeared here, community experience. CF docs, the docs on CF.org. It's really important to have good, clear, valuable documentation that people can pick up, use, get what they need to, and drive themselves forward. it gives a much better user experience, and that's what we've got to do to help grow the community. We've also been working on some roles within working group. So some of these have been taken from the Knative world, and we've been mapping them onto our community structure. We've put an anyone role in. This is for people, anybody out there, individual contributors, veteran developers, working for a small organisation. So long as you've signed the CLA, you can start opening PRs in there. You could already open issues and get involved with our conversations. It's the first step into getting involved into the community. From here, there's the member that makes several contributions and starts to contribute regularly. We're going to then bring those into the GitHub org. From here, there's the approver. This was previously kept by the dojo process, but instead we're looking for sustained contribution in here, and then to help us review PRs, approve them, triage issues, and work on some CI. Then we've got the working group lead, who is responsible for the issue and PR triage, responsible for the roadmaps and the technical health of the working group. And finally, the scribe, which is one of the most important roles. Make sure that everything is documented thoroughly and the notes and recordings are filed in such a way that other people can find them to review them at a later date. So, we want you to get involved with us. And how can you do that? We have some weekly meetings that are open for all to attend. They're also posted on the YouTube channel. You can find how to join the meetings at the community calendar. They're every Tuesday, 7 a.m. for Pacific time, 10:30 a.m. for Eastern time, 3:30 for British Summer Time, and 4:30 for Central European. You can also find us on the TOC channel on Slack. Now, with the proposals that we've got out there, they're open for you to review. Now, on the community repo, 140 is the initial proposal for the working groups, 138 is for the roles. We're planning on keeping those open until the 27th of this month. So you've got an opportunity to say if it's going to work for you. Please comment, like, dislike, let us know, give us some feedback. That's all we can really ask of you as a community, and that's what I'm here to say, really. The final thing really to just address is our sponsors who make this happen. So, a specific thank you to VMware as our platinum sponsor, NE9's SAP and IBM for contributing as our gold level sponsors, and Stark & Wayne for being our bronze level sponsor. Please remember to visit their virtual booths and say thank you very much for making this happen. Without further ado, I leave you to the rest of your day.